Well, I am so excited to have a very, very special woman here with me today. Her name is Tosh Madawa, and she is a mompreneur. And I've personally known Tosh for quite a while now, and she's an incredible human being. And at the moment, she's focusing on being a new mom and running two businesses. Tosh, I don't know how you do it, but you're definitely a leader. So I'm so grateful that you are here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, Tosh is one of these larger than life personalities that is very spiritual and has been on the path of transformation, evolution, and like really genuinely a heart-led leader that has been leading herself and working on being the best version of herself to bring to her family, to her friends, to her community. And Tosh, it's so great to have you here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been an evolution.
Definitely, definitely. So to begin the conversation is what does leadership mean to you?
Right. Well, I think leadership, um, and we're going to get into the different levels of it, but in its entirety, I think leadership is about pulling the energies together, wherever that energy may be found, and guiding it, taking care of it, and having a responsibility and guiding it to a greater vision. It's kind of taking something from point A to point B as best as you can, but also allowing yourself to be in service of it at the same time. So if you're thinking about an organization or a business, it's about having a vision for it, but being open to how every person, every client, every challenge beyond that kind of comes together, and working them together to work towards a greater vision and your own vision.
Oh, I love that definition so much. And it just reminded me to mention to everyone that Tosh is also one of my editors on both of my Oracle decks that have gone to print. And so she's very, very bright, a very bright star with many talents,
Thank
many
you.
things that she does. But your definition of leadership, I started thinking, I was like, oh, that is the process and the journey that we went through with the editing process,
Mm,
right? That was exactly what happened.
yeah, I think that process kind of exists in everything,
Yeah, true.
including parenting as well. In the parenting journey, it's a little bit different because you're in more discovery. Whereas with your book, it's about kind of putting the communication out there. So yeah, it's all amalgamation.
Yes, exactly. Love it. I love that. Um, and what does old paradigm leadership mean to you?
For me, old paradigm leadership is kind of this idea of kind of what you think you should be as a leader, or at least what I've come across a lot, particularly in the corporate field. I know that that is kind of having a big shakeup, and I think COVID and the lockdowns kind of helped with that shakeup. But um, for me, old paradigm was about having force over others, and kind of bending things to your will. You had a vision, and everyone had to get in line or they had to get gone. The old paradigm was about, regardless of the cost, moving forward, and it wasn't about the inside out. It was about the outside in, and how it could feed you, and how it could promote you. So that's my idea of old paradigm leadership.
Ooh, gosh, that just really landed for me. And that is something, Tosh said at the beginning of this conversation when we weren't recording, Oh, I hope I can add value because so many speakers have come before me. And I was like, oh, of course, because you're uniquely you and you will say things that nobody else has said because of you being you. And you just did. Like that was gold right there about how, the new paradigm is that, what did you say again? Inside out and outside in? I'm a little bit dyslexic.
Mm,
So can you say that
yeah.
again? Because that was powerful.
Yeah, I think the old paradigm leadership is about bending things to your will and about using the outside to feed the inside. Whereas I think the new paradigm is about, and I'll talk about it more, but it's about using your inside to kind of shift and mold your outside. It's a one is more violent than the other, in my opinion.
I love that answer. I love it so much. So true. I've got chills all over my body. Oh, so good. You are so smart and such a new thought leader, Tosh. I'm so glad you're here. Yay. I'm so enjoying this conversation.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And so I know you just talked a little bit about new paradigm leadership, but can you deepen into that of what new paradigm leadership means to you?
Yeah, I think um, new paradigm leadership is not new in many senses. I think a lot of new paradigm leadership comes from things that have kind of been intrinsically part of humanity for a very long time. When I think of new paradigm leadership, I actually take my learnings in medicine from like Mother Nature, from a way a lot of indigenous cultures have existed and experienced leadership. I think that new paradigm leadership is about starting from within and learning the essence of the self, learning your own energy, and then kind of then you start looking further outwards. And that usually is, your family, your community, and then beyond that, looking at what are the main challenges everyone is facing, and where you can be a force that is for the greater good, the collective greater good. The reason why I think you need to break it down into those three levels is because I think that in order to be a great leader and to align with new leadership, you really have to be true to yourself first. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to be wanting to use any leadership role as a way of trying to feed something internally that's going on. But if you and that happens when we're not in a place of service, right? If we're not in a place of service, then we're looking for others to fill our needs. But if we're met on the inside, then we can come at a place of service and see how we can kind of look outward. So for me, the whole idea of new paradigm leadership is about a journey of transformation, and it's about kind of yeah, it's a process of starting small and then looking outward. Um, Happy to talk more about that as we go on, but yeah, I guess and once you are looking out, then you can actually see what's in front of you and you can actually have a better idea of what the problem might be. Because a lot of leadership is about problem solving. It's also about actually seeing the resources that are available to you. If you are coming from a place of ego, it's much harder to meet others on a heart level and truly see their beauty and their skills and their strengths. So, yeah, you really have to kind of overcome yourself first before you can be of service and help others as a leader.
I love that. I love that so much. That landed on so many different levels. I was just like, yep, ping, 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 ping. And, I grappled with the name at first. You know how I am with channeling and then it was actually one of my soul clients, Dawn Montefusco. She, said, "Hey, I've got a name for your what you're doing. It's Awaken the New Feminine Paradigm." And I had something similar. So she kind of just like rearranged the words and then I went, "Oh, that's it." It just rang and then I had this intuitive hit. But then I grappled with new feminine because is it new or is it actually ancient and we're reconnecting with the old ways? But
Mm,
what I came to, so I'm resonating with what you're saying, but what I came to was that it is new because we have not yet actually married the ancient ways of, the Native Americans and living close to the land and the medicine people with the indigenous ways with political and spiritual positions of power in the ways that we are,
going
you
into.
know,
Mm,
running things, right? And so the new part of it is like implementing the Eastern, the Western, and all the pieces and parts that have been fragmented and destroyed and like, oh, raped and pillaged and all the rest of it, right? And then just like bringing it together. I don't think that we've ever done that to my knowledge, unless you're aware of something I'm not, but I don't know that it's happened yet. And I don't know if we even all know exactly what that looks like yet. I think we
mm.
have glimpses of it, but it's new. It really is new. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, I dabble astrologically, and I think that, that all the messaging around this time is that we are coming to the end of an age, and we are going into a new age and a new paradigm. And absolutely, I do think we haven't achieved it in the way that we are going to see. And part of that is because of the advancement of technology. We are closer together but further apart in some ways. So yeah, it's very exciting in terms of how are we going to have a more unified but authentic experience.
Yes. And just to speak into what you're talking about, the ego, um, it's very, it like we can narrow it down to being very simple is we can't really give from an empty cup. We have to fill up our cup in
Mm,
order to be able to give. And so, yeah, I mean, we have to lead ourselves before we can lead others. Because if we try to give people a drink from our cup, but it's empty, there won't be anything to give.
mm. But our cup is empty and we're trying to give. We often end up taking when we don't mean to.
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
It's
So true. Love it. I love this conversation. So good. And let's see, what's my next question? Do you consider yourself a leader?
I do. I do, but I also think that everyone should consider themselves a leader because maybe not my toddler, although he would, he would consider himself a leader. No, I guess yeah, it still applies. I think to be a leader is to recognize your own self-worth and to recognize your own responsibility and accountability. It's to say, hey, I've got this idea. I think leadership is an act of courage um, in of itself. So yeah, in terms of me being a leader, I think it's something that I'm stepping into more and more. Um, yeah, I think I think you're first the leader of yourself. And then you become a leader of a process of responsibility, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm still learning how to lead myself, and I call myself a leader, but it's there's layers, right? And there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of depth to the whole journey. And I think the biggest piece is that responsibility and the
Mm,
courage to take the responsibility because it can be huge at times, to yeah, step into that leadership role. And I love that you said that everybody should be a leader and that you believe your toddler would say, "I'm a leader." I love that so much. Isn't it true?
I mean, he is in some respects, he knows all the kids' names in his class, 30 of them, and he's just joined them, you know. I think leadership is also about kind of taking it upon yourself to go out there and make the connection with others, because I think leadership in its essence is about being courageous and doing things that you think need to be done for the right reasons, you know. Sometimes we don't want to step into a place of leadership, but it's kind of ushered upon us. um, and we could either battle with it, or we could say, actually, no, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it to the best of my capability, and that's all you can do sometimes.
Yes, true. And when you think of power, what do you think of?
I mean, I think power, I like to think of the world through words like energy, and I think of power as yeah, amalgamation, emulsification. It's about feeling, sensing the energy. Sometimes you might sound a bit crazy. You got to sometimes change the lingo depending on who you're speaking with. Like in the corporate world, you wouldn't be going on about, you'd be talking about influence and talking about responsibility and accountability. But for me, when you come down to it, when you talk about power, it's about, yeah, taking care. It's about, um, it's about shifting and transmuting things, so that it can meet a certain endpoint. Yeah, power, I think, is being very corrupted in the way that it's being spoken about. I think it's being, and there's a lot of narrative at the moment about power being a bad thing, but I think that it exists whether you want it to or not. In the same way that energy exists, you can't destroy it. It's just kind of transmuted. So I think power in the same way is just transmuted. And it's about having the right intentions of what you want to do with it.
So true. I love that. I love that you brought up that power is, you know, been seen as a corruption. But when I think of that, I also think about how, people say money is the root to all evil. But, is money really the root to all evil, or is it what we do with it and our
Mm.
intention with it and our energy with it? And yeah, I mean, power, we're sitting here with all the lights on and the warmth, keeping us warm in the winter, and that's power, and it's actually quite good, isn't it?
I mean, when
So,
I want to think about power, one of my favorite kind of metaphors that, or you know, analogies when I like to look at powers, I like to look at the power of the bee. You know, the whole world is dependent on bees. And they're so small, but they work together to create a hive, and yeah, they're literally powering our whole world. Um, and yet, yeah, they're small and often unseen. But that doesn't mean that they don't hold that power.
oh, I love that analogy or metaphor, huh? That's a great one. Wow. That's a really, really powerful one. Love that. Thank you, Tosh. Um, that is a lot of power in just a little tiny furry package of all, and then, their hive and how they work together, huh? Their
There's a
collective power.
diplomacy.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That just really, that just really hit me. That's great. I love that so much. See, you have completely different things to say than anyone else. That's for sure. I knew you would. And no doubt. But I know there's something interesting about being one of the last speakers too. I was just talking to another speaker about this too, but it's kind of good too though, having that beginning, that middle, that end, and here we are at the culmination of this incredible journey, and I'm so grateful to have you part of it. I love this conversation. So, when you hear the words awaken the new feminine paradigm, what emerges inside of you?
when I hear awaken the new feminine paradigm, I think about having to go inwards in order to sit in the paradox of life, in order to be between two forces, even if they're paradox like pain and pleasure or light and dark, whatever kind of paradox you want to come up with, and allow both to resonate in the truth of what they are. 2 years ago, I gave birth, and it was one of the most horrifically painful moments of my life. And it was also one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And those are contradictions and it's a paradox, but they're both true. And so for me, about awakening the new paradigm, it's allowing myself to sit in a space that doesn't always make sense to the mind, but it feels right and sits within the heart. And yeah, it's about embracing um, the contrast and paradox that just naturally exists in what it is to be a human.
Oh, I love that. So true, isn't it? It's like welcome to Earth. My husband always says that to me when I'm struggling a little bit. He's like, welcome to Earth. It is a place of duality and paradox. And when we can sit with both, I really genuinely feel that world peace is possible. And oh, emotional saying that. But I really do feel like that is like, I don't know how to communicate it other than it's like walking a tightrope or like a bridge that's going across from two destinations. And on one side is complete darkness, and the other side is complete light. But either way, if you fall into complete darkness or complete light, it's too much. It's too intense.
Mhm.
But if you can walk that middle path between the paradox, the yin and the yang, the duality, then that's where I believe heaven on earth is in the
Mm,
paradox. And yeah, exactly. Awakening the new feminine paradigm, awakening the new earth. Different people say different things, but it is being able to birth that peacefulness with the paradox. I love that. That was so good. And I love that you brought up the metaphor of childbirth because that's so true. In those moments when I was giving birth, I had intense emotions of the most pain that I've ever experienced in my whole life. And then within, a few breaths, I had the most orgasmic, like I'm part of the whole universe and everything, like enlightening, orgasmic bliss.
mm,
And it would weave in and out. It
mhm,
was like such a balancing act of balancing those energies. So yes.
mm.
Oh, I love that. You just sent me on a whole journey there.
Well, I mean, yeah, awakening the new feminine paradigm, we are birthing a new world collectively. And it's not always going to be sunshine and roses. There is going to be aspects that are probably going to be painful because you cannot live life without it. But the more pain, the more beauty, or the more you spend time as a seedling in the ground, the more you're going to really embrace that sunlight when it comes. So, yeah, I think it's about that's why you really have to anchor into self and go within because yeah, the forces we are the bridge, as you were saying. So the forces can feel very disorientating, so anchor to self and allow both to exist.
I love that, Tosh. We are the bridge.
um it's the
Hmm.
permission that I give myself to slow down and listen in and allow the evolution and transformation to start in the right place. um there's a lot of noise out there, and I think awaken the new paradigm is a calling inward so that we can go we can look outward eventually.
My next question is, who are your favorite leaders? Who really lights you up?
Well, I know that most people would probably talk about actual people at this point, but I really sat with it and I was like, you know what? All of the leaders that I have heard about, they've kind of been defined by a very masculine world, in terms of like their PR and their publishing. Like if we think about the world or our old paradigm, which we're kind of coming out of, it's all kind of got different values. So for me, I actually wanted to talk about like who I found inspiring my whole life and a leader that doesn't really exist because they're a character, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer um, was a leader for me. And I think it's important because in one reality or another, she does exist. And I think that the point is that we can actually find leaders in that don't exist. They don't live. They live in other worlds. Um, and the reason why I loved her is because she managed to reach me as a teenager, and she resonated with me. And I think leaders need to really resonate with you and you need to kind of look up to them um and a lot of the leaders that kind of exist in social media and popularity, they you find out one thing about them and you're like, oh, can they still be my leader? And there's a whole thing, because people are complex. So I like the idea of the character. She taught me that to be a leader, you have to take on responsibility, even if you don't want it. It's still there that you cannot do everything by yourself. That was a big journey that she went on, and I think that that's really important for leadership, and to just be really courageous. So yeah, I could give you names, but but they're not really who inspire me when I think about leadership.
I love that answer. And you know, the thing is, though, that I'm thinking about is whoever created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that person probably does exist, right? In this
And they're very
character.
problematic,
Oh,
which is the irony.
oh, that is the irony, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we have moments of greatness as humans, and then we also have moments of not so greatness. And I know cancel culture is really big at the moment. But I think if we're really idolizing leadership, we need to think about the act of leadership. And that's why I find it really hard to find a person.
Yeah, I hear you. My original one was Wonder Woman, And then I was like, well, that's not really a person. It's an archetype of an energy. And then I found out who created Wonder Woman, and then I really loved Wonder Woman even more because the people
Mm.
were amazing. Um, but
I
yeah,
think
I mean, Martin Luther King Jr., I just found out that he wasn't really, you know, um,
good to his wife.
yeah, not the perfect person, and
Yeah,
wasn't good to his wife and not really behind the feminist movement, was he? But then I think about what he did and the movement that he awakened and led and the result of that. And so maybe sometimes it's about the movement and the change that is experienced from the leadership than the actual leader themselves.
absolutely. Because leadership, you have to lead something in order to be a leader. So it is a collective movement, whatever way you look at it. You can't really, I mean, you can have a leader that's displaying leadership qualities, but if they don't have following in some way, then are they a leader? I mean, that is a question. But the good thing about a character is that they can still inspire you and you can carry them with you. And you can still see the leadership qualities displayed in front of you and think that's something that I want to take on more of. That's an energy that I want to display more of. Yeah, I really liked Jacinda Ardern. and the way she handled the pandemic, but then a lot of people really hated it. So I, yeah, I guess the reason why I want to bring up a character is because at the end of the day, leadership is about finding a way to resonate with others. Um, and yeah, if we can kind of talk about where we're heading and not get held up in the weeds, then we're having a conversation about moving forward as leaders.
I love that. I love that so much. I love that you said you can carry that energy with you without there being kind of boulders or rocks in the way. Because when it's a human and then you find out the other stuff, it's kind of like those rocks and boulders can not dam it
Disappoint
up,
you.
but kind of, yeah, kind of be like, oh, really? I was that way with recently with Martin Luther King Jr. I didn't know that other stuff, and my feminist friends were like, they heard my speech and they're like, "Did you know?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know that part." But it doesn't change the fact that he was an incredible, incredible, powerful leader of movement that he was very passionate about that created change. And he helped with the racial injustices and yeah. So I still
And, and
I
that
still hold him very near and dear to my heart.
and that is a part of holding the paradox, right? Of
Right. That is the paradox. You're right.
yeah, because in order to and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but in order to be a great leader, you need to have great self-awareness and you need to know your own, not so good points as well. And have the courage and trust to allow others to kind of guide you through that. So yeah, it's all kind of full circle.
Yeah, exactly. I found that out when I had you and the other editors editing my book. I'm like, yes, I need an editor. I cannot do this on my own. I need help and support. I might
You
have
did
some
great.
really good big ideas, but knowing where to put the commas really challenging.
But everyone, no one can do it alone. And if they are trying to be a one-man band, then the music is not as beautiful.
It's true. So true. Yeah. Love that. I've many times thought, well, I'm a one woman show, but when I have help and support, the music is sweeter. It's
Mm.
true. Thank you for that. And so the qualities, you've mentioned some of the qualities of leadership. Can you deepen a little bit more into what qualities you think are really important in new feminine paradigm leadership?
Yeah, I sat with it, and I boiled it down to three because the brain loves three. um, and they come in an order for me. I think, first of all, we really need to have curiosity because I think curiosity is the most magical door opener to finding resonance with others. It's about really understanding the intentions. It's understanding, you mentioned, the rocks in the dam, what is stopping the water from flowing. When we go with preconceived ideas, we stop listening. So I think curiosity is the greatest medicine and kind of taking a step back and understanding maybe it's the person on your team, maybe it's the problem, maybe it's that something intuitively is not kind of aligning here for me. So let's go deeper. But I think curiosity is the door to opening that portal. And then I think empathy. So once we've kind of found that resonance, we really need to empathize. And I think it comes very naturally when we've gone through the portal of curiosity, because empathy it's about seeing other perspectives that you may not have been able to prior. And it's about understanding that everyone is living in their own paradoxical world, and everyone has these competing challenges. And that is often the competing challenges is often what becomes the crux of a problem that you're trying to overcome as a leader. And then the final one is integrity. So integrity for me is about honesty meeting values and action and taking care whilst doing it. So it's about uh, being a person of your word and also acting with with respect and acting in a place of alignment and from a place of resonance with others so that you're doing good and you're not rushing in because again the new feminine paradigm is quite slow on some levels, but sometimes you have to slow down to fasten up. So that's the paradox again. And those are the three qualities: curiosity, empathy, and integrity.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautifully said. I love your words of wisdom. And on that note, we've got the biggest question of all, and it's fun. And if you were made leader of the world, what are some of the things that you would do to create a better world?
Well, um, one thing I did, this is probably a bit of a silly answer to your question, but one thing when I was younger, I really wanted to win a Nobel Peace Prize. It was like something that I really wanted to do. And then, I grew up, I think I was like 10, 11 when people started talking about weapons of mass destruction. And they did not make sense to me. They did not compute. And I was like, why are we bombing each other? Why don't, like, we have biophysics. We know things like oxytocin makes us love each other. It makes us feel good around other people. Why don't we go into conflict zones and drop a whole lot of oxytocin so that people can't fight each other, but they can actually finally find a way to connect with one another? So the world that I would want to create would be, the weapons of mass destruction would be bombs of oxytocin to kind of help people love one another. And on a more serious note, I guess it would be about, and I did my thesis on food sovereignty, and that was the big lesson where I was like, oh my gosh, like food in its very essence is abundant. Why are people paying for it? And then I started creating this whole new model of society in my head about edible curbsides and things, and they do exist, but taking the cost of food away and making it an inherent right. You know, so I would be very quickly creating task forces to implement all of these very out there ideas that were all about loving each other and enjoying abundance together.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh gosh, that's just so. I've had some similar thoughts myself, those moments where you can either get so disheartened about where things are at, or you can just start like putting up the circus performance theater curtain and, you know, having some fun with it and bringing a little levity to the whole thing. And I feel like that was really enlightening. That was really fun. And I don't think it's that wacky, actually. I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Someone told me when I brought up the idea, they're like, you can't drug people against their rights, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that rather than like being hit with an actual boom bomb, being drugged up and feeling really great, I'm pretty sure they would choose that
And
one.
tell me a little bit more about your food sovereignty, because you're doing some interesting things with that.
Yeah, it's been in the birth canal for a very long time. I did my food thesis, my master's thesis in food sovereignty back in 2014. And I'm now in a position where I've now learned about creating businesses and what have you to create and launch Mind Over Platter. It's still in its infancy, but it's all about well, there's many levels to it, but it's about creating rituals over everyday things for deeper connection with one another whilst enjoying food and aspects of spirituality. I really want to make it open and to lots of different kinds of people because I think when it comes to awakening the new feminine paradigm, We don't need everybody at once, but we do need everybody eventually. So it's about finding ways to make things resonate with others and leading them there.
Mm, and what a great way to do it is with food. Because who doesn't love food? I love food. And if you can bring ritual and sacredness and people and community together with beautiful food, I think it's just fabulous.
Mm.
Wonderful. And do you have any last and kind of final words of wisdom that you would like to share?
But I guess we've touched on it in terms of we've talked about like big change and how we would do big change. And we've talked about the old paradigm and the new paradigm. And um, you know, I don't read the news much or things like that, but there's been a lot of talk about the ending of the world. A lot of people are wanting to, are talking about that at the moment. And um, my experience or my belief is that we are in the ending of the world as we know it, and we're moving into this new paradigm. And I think we have the grace of greater entities and energies, be that your own religious figure, God, or Pachamama, or whatever it is that you believe. I think the grace is one thing that is kind of everyone experiences of the grace of something greater than ourselves. And I think about how if we were trying to change the direction of a stream, we would do it one stone at a time, and we would ultimately change the direction of the water in a way that was gentle, in a way that didn't destruct everything. We could choose to just put a dam in place and move the water and cause a whole lot of chaos. And we have seen that change in the past. But I feel this change. And a lot of people that are spiritually inclined, probably you who is listening, can feel a change coming. But I think do not fear because it's happening one stone, one pebble at a time, so that we can transition with the beautiful flow of the water. And then we will be seeing some people that are going to be trying to go upstream or trying to blow the whole thing up. But I think as a collective force, that's not going to happen. We're not going to allow that to happen. We're going to be choosing the direction through co-creation because we're all co-creating this reality that we find ourselves within. And I'm really excited to awaken the new feminine paradigm within me every day because it is a choice. And some days, some days the old ways get me, but every day, every moment, every action, every interaction, it is a calling to connect with oneself and to awaken the feminine paradigm with the world around us.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you for speaking into that. I think you're the first speaker that has spoken into that particular, um, element to it. And I could not agree more with you on that one. I think it is, when I was little, I can't remember how old I was, but I was quite young. I must have been around 10, I think. Um, I had a dream about the end of the world, and my sister had a dream about the end of the world, and we had it around in the same week. And she's 3.5 years younger than me, so she was really young. And we
Mm.
both had these dreams of the end of the world. And her dream was hell, like brimstone and fire and like, the apocalypse, right? Terrible. Scared her, really scared her.
Mm.
Well, my dream is a very strange one because I didn't have any of that. I had snow and everyone was gone. And I went outside and it was snowing and I lived in California. Where we were, there was no snow. But there was just snow everywhere and everything was white and everyone was gone. And I looked up and it was like the snow was falling in slow motion. And I knew it was the end of the world, but it was so peaceful and tranquil and like I felt like this enlightenment, and I wasn't scared. It wasn't like, oh, I've been left behind or anything like that. It was like, oh. And, and then I grew up and I moved to Sweden, this last was a couple years ago. And I had that moment when after I had created Awaken the Goddess Within. And I had the exact moment of my dream, the snow
Mm,
falling. And it was like the moment I looked up and I shared this information with a priestess by the name of Celestine Starr. And she was one of the summit speakers. She's passed away now, but she confirmed and affirmed to me that I had had a kind of the dream that I had and the experience that I had in Sweden were connected, and that
mm,
it was like a premonition of the future.
mm,
And I've now since connected all the dots, and I know this is a bit abstract and a bit out there, but the paradox. Some people are having the experience of hell on earth because they're doing what you're saying. They're trying to go upstream, or and they're putting all these boulders and rocks and making a big mess of it because they're fighting it, right? And going into the fear and the anger and the separation and the judgment and the self-created hell on earth that, they are creating. And so they're like,
mm,
existing within the apocalypse right now. And
mm,
in the paradox, we also have the snow and the peacefulness and and
mm,
everything in between. Everybody's experience of it is uniquely their own.
mm,
And my mission and my life path purpose is to help awaken people and empower people that we get to choose.
mm,
We can awaken this new feminine paradigm within, or whatever name you call it, whatever words you want to use, to open that portal of heaven
mm,
within you. And yeah, it's powerful stuff. And I this, Tosh, about my pattern of persecution, and I've had it for lifetimes, but I still watch it play out in this lifetime. And now I kind of laugh about it when it happens now, but
mm,
every time I step into my, you know, spiritual position of power and authority and leadership and start becoming more visible, I get
mm,
attacked by someone. And I just had it happen again like last
mm,
week. And I got this like really attacking kind of, wow, it was pretty intense message in my email. And instead of reacting to it, I sat with it and I laughed. I was like, oh, here it is again. Like, I can't wait
mm.
to tell Tosh about this because here it is again. And I'm like, okay, well, who am I if I am this new paradigm leader? How can I connect in with my heart and have personal boundaries around myself to keep myself safe as well? Because I don't want to
Mm,
be abused. But I
mm,
came from a place of love, and I just said, I'm so sorry that you're having a hard time. It sounds like you're in a lot of pain.
mm,
I'm here to help if you need help. But I won't be abused. Um, I've got some strong boundaries and a zero tolerance for any kind of abuse. So if you
mm,
do keep sending abusive messages to me, then I will remove you and block you, and I wish you all the best. And I come from a place of love when I say this. It's a self-respecting love, but also a love for you because it sounds like you're going through some really big stuff. But I'm here for you if you need some help.
mm,
And sure enough, and it makes me tear up when I think about it. Um, sure enough, that person was in a lot of pain, and they
mm,
apologized and they said thank you. And it was such a different experience for me because of my unresolved childhood trauma that I'm still healing. The natural trigger in me wants to respond, deflect, react. And though that's the old paradigm way. And we are birthing the new paradigm within us because inherently people are good. They're
Mm,
just in pain. They're wounded, they're hurting, they're struggling, they're in fear, and they need help. And sometimes that kind of lashing out is actually a cry for help.
mm,
And so, yes, the portals of heaven and hell and the paradox are all like, and I mean, there's this is a we could do a whole summit on this, but I mean, there's a lot to say and deepen into and speak into. But I mean, some people believe that the apocalypse is kind of being forced to happen as well. That there's like some politically maneuvering and stuff like this. I don't know. I don't know about all that, but what I
it,
do
the
know is
stream the stream needs to move one way or another. The stream, we're not going down that way, we're going a different way. So how are we going to do it?
true. True, true. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, exactly. It's got to move. And so when you move, move is, things get all shaken up,
Mm,
right? And when you move a stream as well, it gets a bit murky, doesn't it? Before it's clear again.
yeah. I mean, I have to say, I think being a mother of a 2-year-old at this time has taught me so much wealth in just, allowing and being patient and, coming back at it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on. So I guess, yeah, everyone just needs to be really gentle with themselves and feel that as a call inward whenever we're capable of it. I mean, we're also, the paradox is allowing us to also be authentic. And sometimes that authentic reaction is, you know, it is a very human reaction, but
Yeah.
yeah,
We're not
go
going to
with it.
always get it in a way that is in our highest, state of being. If we're tired, if we're run down, if we're like a new mom running two businesses, holy moly, that's a lot.
Sometimes I pick my toddler up and I force him to put his shoes on and we leave the door on my time. And sometimes just the way I do it. But if I cooled myself within, then I would find a way to kind of usher him to his shoes and go out the door and know that the timing is perfect no matter what time we leave, and allow us to both coexist in authentic ways. That is the way that I want to be, but sometimes, and I think that's the metaphor for life, right?
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. How can we keep coming back to unconditional love, kindness, and being gentle with ourselves and being gentle with others, even when we're not in our highest vibe or highest self or, our authentic self is
Well, we literally
sometimes,
have opposing goals. We're seeing a lot of that, opposing goals.
yeah, yeah. I love that. And, with with my oracle decks it was like higher self or authentic self and figuring out where to put higher self and where to put authentic self, and because the authentic self is not necessarily the higher self, right? Because we could be authentically frustrated at that moment and that is authentically where we are. So yeah. Mm.
So I'm so grateful that paradox is a big part of awakening the new feminine paradigm.
Well, this is the acceptance piece, isn't it? Going back to the serenity prayer, which is one of my favorite. I mean, I grew up with that. That was like a mantra in our home was, being able to accept the things, changing the things that you can, but being able to accept the ones that are just like, okay, not always going to be perfect, but how can I do my best?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Oh, well, thank you for your time, your energy, your expertise, your philosophical, well thought out analogies and metaphors.
I
Oh,
love
you are such a
that.
gift.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you
thank you.
for having me.
Yes. Value add. Thank you. Mwah, mwah.